Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here, and if you've been watching my coverage of Chaos 2020, I've been pointing out that it's not only the media out there, it's not only the current left out there, it's not only the current mainstream right out there that's telling Trump to concede without seeing any of the arguments or evidence that he's going to present presumably Monday. They also went to old school Al Gore, the most super serial of politicians in modern history. That's right, they went to Al Gore, and Al Gore, he was saying something really interesting, okay? He's saying, he should go with dignity, he needs to unite the country. And I thought to myself, why not go back in time to Al Gore contending, and I believe rightfully so, okay, contending the election in Florida, where things got a little bit messy. Now, we're going to show you, this one might be a little bit long, okay, I'm not going to lie. We're going to show you 3 separate short clips of Gore and what he had to say after the fact. We're not going to get into some of the other stuff because, like in the initial press conference, you got Donna Brazile coming out there. You've got other people on his campaign discussing what's about to happen because the vote was so close and we were going to have the recount and then we had the hanging chads. But I also thought I would take this opportunity to actually play Jimmy Carter and James Baker. No big fan of Baker. And actually, I'm sympathetic towards Carter. Yes, even during the Bin Laden, Mujahideen, Brzezinski days, I'm very sympathetic towards Carter because I believe his heart was always in the right place. He wanted to do good things, and he's one of the few people out there that's spoken out about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and took a lot of heat for Peace, Not Apartheid, a book he wrote, and then there was a subsequent documentary on that. Now it's got to be over a decade ago. But everybody points to this bipartisan report where they talk about the probability for fraud and misuse with massive mail-in ballots. Hence, they want a photo ID in order to vote. So we're actually going to show you some of the press conference from Jimmy Carter and James Baker. And then we're also going to get to another thing that's really important that I think that was really downplayed, especially so far this year, but digital voter fraud that I've been talking about forever. And Jimmy Carter addresses that and then also addresses an audit of the votes. Okay, so this is all the way back in 2005. So buckle up because this one is not going to be a short video, guys. Only 32 thumbs. Let's get 180 thumbs up. That's how many viewers we got. Let's get 180 thumbs up. And before that, I want to play a clip too and remind people of some things. Okay, before we get to Gore, before we get to Carter, we've got to get to no, that's not true. No. People who've been watching know what I mean. Guys, we're fully demonetized here because what you're about to witness, in the Orwellian COVID-19 84 society that we live in right now may be deemed harmful content. I don't know. I haven't heard back from YouTube yet. It's been 7+ months. We've been fully demonetized. Okay, we tried to get the channel reviewed. We can't even get thumbnails reviewed. Okay, we can't even get thumbnails reviewed. No, Jason. So thumbs the video up, subscribe, share, check out all the documentary films. They're free in the playlist section right here, right now. Loose Change, Final Cut, Fabled Enemies, Invisible Empire, A New World Order to find and shade the motion picture. Make sure you're rock finning. 11 a.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. Free. Go sign up for free and become a member there because if I get kicked off this platform, that's the main place you will be able to find me. Meanwhile, let's get to 60,000. Join the Burmis Brigade. So, we're going to get to Gore, but how can we get to Gore without George W. Bush, the person he contended against, congratulating Joe Biden and telling Donald Trump that he must concede because the election was fundamentally fair and its outcome is clear. Nobody has even talked about the legitimacy of, again, the claims, the evidence, any of that. And I'm not calling elections here. I told you weren't going to have a president yet. But I also told you on election night, it looked like it was not the landslide, although who knows what's going to happen in the end, that we needed to see them concede to Trump, which they did not. And then slowly but surely, the narrative was the pathways for Biden. Okay? Is that harmful content to point all that out? And the right and left are going to come out against Trump. Trump's already being censored big time on media. This claim about the election is fraud, is disputed. We believe these people are thieves. The big city machines are corrupt. This was a stolen election. Best pollster in Britain wrote this morning. So again, they're fact-checking Trump quoting people. Okay, that's where we're at. How much longer until he just gets kicked off the internet? Where it mattered, they stole what they needed to steal at Newt Gingrich. This claim about the election fraud is disputed. Okay, I mean, just like every single one, boom, boom, boom. So we'll see what they have. We'll see where we're going. I think we're far from over. But before we get there, I think it's important we show you how the media just lies. Okay, and you tell me there is no scandal about Hunter Biden and his laptop, and I say, well, now we all know the laptop's real. No one said it's Russian hacked. In fact, all the evidence says it's not Russian hacked. And from what's been shown so far, okay, one of the most disturbing aspects of that is that Hunter Biden, Joe's son, is obviously in a compromising photograph, bare minimum, and discussing an inappropriate relationship with his 14-year-old niece, who happens to be Joe's granddaughter, with Joe. Okay, but I need you guys to watch this because this is how the media treats you like a child. This is what she's saying to the president. There is no scandal. No. We need the what the F bra guy to do a remix on this one. The no lady.
Walk in with a ice cream, and the question the media asks him, "What kind of ice cream? What flavor ice cream do you have?" And he's in the midst of a scandal.
He's not.
And he's taking.
He's
of course
not.
he is,
No.
Leslie.
Come on.
Of course he is. It's the biggest,
No,
second biggest
come on.
scandal.
So-
the biggest scandal was when they spied on my campaign. They spied on my
Well,
campaign,
there's
Leslie.
no real evidence of that.
Of course there is.
No.
It's all over the place.
No.
Leslie,
Sir,
they spied on my campaign and they
Can
got caught.
I say something? You know, this is 60 Minutes, and we can't put on things we can't
No,
verify.
you won't put it on because it's bad for Biden.
We can't
Look, let
put
me tell
on
you-
things we can't verify.
Leslie, they spied
And-
on my campaign.
Well, we can't verify
It's been totally
that.
verified.
No.
It's been, just go down and get
No.
the papers.
No. She just looks dead in the eyes. No. Anybody can look at the publicly available evidence. It blows my mind every time I watch that. So let's do it. Let's go to Big Daddy Al Gore and have him talk about this is, I believe, the day after the elections when they still don't have a winner. So this is one day after. Or maybe the night of.
Yesterday, the people of our country joined together to make a great national decision to choose the next president of the United States. We still do not know the outcome of yesterday's vote, and I realize that this is an extraordinary moment for our democracy. Joe Lieberman and I want to thank the nearly 50 million Americans who gave us their votes and confidence. And I want to express my deep and profound gratitude to all of those who cast their ballots, however they cast them. We now need to resolve this election in a way that is fair, forthright, and fully consistent with our Constitution and our laws.
Okay with that.
What is at issue here is the fundamental fairness of the process as a whole. Because of what is at stake, this matter must be resolved expeditiously, but deliberately and without any rush to judgment. Despite the fact that Joe Lieberman and I won the popular vote, under our Constitution, it is the winner of the Electoral College who will be the next president. Our Constitution is the whole foundation of our freedom, and it must be followed faithfully toward the true result ordained by the American people with their votes in our respective states. We are now, as we have been from the moment of our founding, a nation based on the rule of law. When our founders pledged their sacred honor to bring forth this republic upon which the hopes of humankind still rest, they affirmed the bedrock principle that Americans have followed ever since: the consent of the governed given freely in an election process whose integrity is beyond question is the living heart of our democracy. It is also crucial that the American people have full faith and confidence in the electoral process from which the president derives authority.
Which, by the way,
Let me make my own resolve clear.
Listen, I pretty much agree with everything he just said there. Now, can you honestly say that the public, well, again, we're so split right now. I told you, no matter what happens in the election, the other side, left or right, doesn't matter, is not going to believe the other side, okay? Let's make that very clear.
No matter what the outcome, America will make the transition to a new administration with dignity, with full respect for the freely expressed will of the people, and with pride in the democracy we are privileged to share.
Not this time. That's not going to happen this time. Okay, I promise you that. One way or the other. Hate to tell you, Al, but this is 2020, baby.
And I want all Americans, indeed the whole world, to be absolutely assured of that. I don't believe it's appropriate for me to take questions or comment further at this time.
So he gives it over to Lieberman.
But
now,
I am going to ask Secretary...
Or no, he might give it over to Lieberman on the second one. But let's go to him here. This is, I believe, the day after.
There's an awful lot at stake here. And what is at stake is more important than who wins the presidency.
I agree.
What is at stake is the integrity of our democracy, making sure that the will of the American people is expressed and accurately received. That is why I have believed from the start that while time is important, it is even more important that every vote is counted and counted accurately.
Oh.
Because there's something very special about our process that depends totally on the American people having a chance to express their will without any intervening interference. Mm-hmm. That's really what is at stake here. And so that's what I'm focused on, not the contest, but our democracy.
Oh, thank you, Al.
To make sure that the process works the way our founders intended it to work. Look, I would not want to win the presidency by a few votes cast in error or misinterpreted or not counted. And I don't think Governor Bush wants that either. So having enough patience to spend the days necessary to hear exactly what the American people have said is really the most important thing, because that is what honors our Constitution and redeems the promise of our democracy. Now, if there's any saving grace at all to the extra time that this is taking...
No, here's where it hams it up. I mean, listen, this is quintessential, old school politician bullshit. There's no, I don't think that George wants to win illegitimately. Come on. I mean, again, it's a different era of politics. I mean, let's be honest. Trump did change modern politics forever. Okay? Now he's talking about, so many kids are learning about the electoral process, and it's such a good thing. I mean, this is stuff that I could do without. We don't even have to play this. But here, this is where it gets a little bit juicier. Okay, I think that this is important. This is where he's like, as long as we get an auditing of this and everybody's allowed to see what went down, and it did. I mean, we were hanging chads and people were inspecting ballots, et cetera, then we're not going to file legal action in certain areas. Well, Trump's filing legal action. So get ready for the shiz show, Chaos 2020. But again, Al Gore... of yesteryear is very different from Al Gore today. Let's listen to Al Gore of yesteryear again.
This has been an extraordinary 8 days for the American people, and I wanted to speak with you briefly about how I believe we should conclude this election. The campaign is over, but a test of our democracy is now underway. It is a test we must pass, and it is a test we will pass with flying colors. All we need is a common agreement that what is at stake here is not who wins and who loses in a contest for the presidency, but how we honor our Constitution and make sure that our democracy works as our founders intended it to work. This is a time to respect every voter and every vote. This is a time to honor the true will of the people. So our goal must be what is right for America. There is a simple reason that Florida law, and the law in many other states, calls for a careful check by real people of the machine results in elections like this one. The reason? Machines can sometimes misread or fail to detect the way ballots are cast. And when there are serious doubts, checking the machine count with a careful hand count is accepted far and wide as the best way to know the true intentions of the voters. That is why there have already been partial or complete hand counts, not just in 2 Democratic counties in Florida, but in 6 Republican counties as well.
Oh.
We need a resolution that is fair and final. We need to move expeditiously to the most complete and accurate count that is possible. And that is why I propose this evening a way to settle this matter with finality and justice in a period of days, not weeks.
Oh, thank you.
First, we should complete hand counts already begun in Palm Beach County, Dade County, and Broward County to determine the true intentions of the voters based on an objective evaluation of their ballots. Observers and participants from both parties should be present in every counting room as required under Florida law.
Think about that right there. Under Florida law, like basically almost every state has that same law. The people have to be there for the count. They're alleging there are people that are supposed to be pollsters that are now giving press conferences saying they were not allowed to look at the votes. I'm just putting that out there. All right. Chaos 2020. And I mean, Gore is on the flip side of everything he's saying 20 years later. And now he's going to go over these things which are legitimate. Okay? Which are legitimate. And then he's going to say, and if these are carried out, then we don't file legal action. Well, like I said, Trump's filing legal action.
Results of this recount would, of course, be added to the present certified vote total and the overseas absentee vote total. If this happens, I will abide by the result. I will take no legal action to challenge the result, and I will not support any legal action to challenge the result. I am also prepared, if Governor Bush prefers, to include in this recount all the counties in the entire state of Florida. I would also be willing to abide by that result and agree not to take any legal action to challenge that result. If there are no further interruptions to the process, we believe the count can be completed within 7 days of the time it starts. Now, second, I propose that Governor Bush and I meet personally, one-on-one, as soon as possible before the vote count is finished, not to negotiate, but to improve the tone of our dialogue in America.
We know that's not happening. So again, there are some differences, but just think about what he said there. Okay, obviously, first of all, Biden isn't going to meet with Trump on anything because Biden's not making decisions. All right. So this here is a clip of Jimmy Carter. And by the way, over 500 watching. Let's thumbs it up, thumbs it up, thumbs it up. This is where they're talking about basically if you want to vote, okay, you need to have an ID, whether you're getting an absentee ballot, any of that stuff, okay? But before we get there, I really think people are overlooking the digital ballots and a receipt for your vote, okay? So listen to what Jimmy has to say here, and then we're going to play, it's going to be a 4 or 5 minute clip of James Baker and Jimmy Carter talking about the importance of literally, in order to get your ballot, you need an ID to prove it's you. Imagine that. That did not happen by any means this time around.
There was a strong impetus to have electronic voting, to do away with the hanging chads and so forth. And that's good, but there's been a wide range of concern that this completely secret and impenetrable system of computer software might open up an avenue of fraud.
And let's just talk about now. Now we're talking about allegations in Michigan of some kind of a glitch. Supposedly a report says it's human error. Guys, get ready. Buckle up. Again, a lot of this stuff might be thrown out of court in states. When it gets to the Supreme Court level, we will definitely see. But listen to what Jimmy Carter has to say. Now, he's talking digital voting, but then he's going to be talking about a complete audit of the votes. And that really pertains across the board.
So one of the things we're recommending is that there be a backup on paper, which other countries are already doing, by the way. It's a simple technological matter. Nevada did it this past year, so that there can be some comparison on the part of the voter. This is the way I touch the screen. Did my ballot comply? And they look at the paper ballot. Another thing is that even if the voter is not concerned individually, collectively there needs to be some way to judge either allegations of discrepancies or fraud and a very close election to confirm the accuracy of the overall report. And the third thing is to make sure that everyone knows in advance that there will be an auditing procedure undertaken, so that anybody who's tempted at the beginning to do something fraudulent will know that 1 or 2% of all the voting places in the state will be arbitrarily selected and the paper ballot and the electronic ballot compared. This would go a long way to deter any kind of temptation to fraud.
And just so everybody understands, right there, that's 2005. We still don't have that. You don't think that your elections are in systemically, they want to talk about systemic racism? These things are systemically set up for fraud. They are systemically set up for manipulation, and that was never fixed. So now, again, we're gonna play the tail end. Thumbs this up. Let's get 300 thumbs up, guys. And this is where, people point, Bill Barr and others have pointed, and remember, I'm no fan of Bill Barr. We're not trying to be partisan here, but others have pointed to the fact that these guys, in their report said mail-in votes would be fraudulent, in many cases rife for fraud, because you need identification. And right here, they lay out why you need an ID. And they basically go over a lot of the things. Well, some places want you to pay $35 for 3 years or 5 years, and then there's a 10-year program. We want to make it free. So really, they're talking about it in a voter suppression way. But again, in order to vote, the main issue is so that you don't have fraud, that it's this person who's voting and where they're voting.
Mr. President, could you please tell us why the commission concluded that there was a need for a photo ID for all voters?
Yeah. The photo ID proposal was extensively debated by our commission. I personally had, at the beginning, some very serious reservations about this issue. But I was changed by 3 factors. One is that some states have passed abominable laws that are a disgrace to democracy and to our country. Georgia, my own home state, is one of those. If you read the Georgia law, which was passed this year, you see that it is highly discriminatory and, in my personal opinion, directly designed to deprive older people, African Americans, poor people of a right to vote. We have 159 counties in Georgia. Only about 55 places in the state will issue these government ID cards, photo ID cards. Atlanta has 450,000 people. There's not a single place in the city of Atlanta under this law where you can go and get a photo ID. In addition to that, the Georgia legislature, in their ill-advised attempt to restrict fraud, which doesn't exist in our state very much, said you have to pay $20 for a 5-year permit to vote and $35 if you want to vote for 10 years. I think all of you would agree that that's an abomination.
Now, obviously, that's a nominal fee when you make it out there, but I'm with him. on this. Again, this is 15 years ago, but he's basically saying they're using these IDs as voter suppression. But in the end, voter fraud is obviously the bigger issue. So obviously he goes with the idea that these people need IDs because of fraud.
That's the worst one that I know about. That's one reason that I was inclined to support the recommendations we've made. Another reason is that 23 other states also have some form of photo ID required, voter ID, and 8 other states are considering it. So the second reason is to make a uniform recommendation in our country through this report that we've issued, so that there is not highly discriminatory laws passed by one party or another. And the third reason is that we put in some very careful constraints to prevent abuse. For instance, these photo ID cards will be free. Secondly, there'll be a wide distribution of them. The states will be required to go around the state to issue these photo ID cards to as many people as possible, which would be a good system just for recruiting new voters.
Which it would. Think about that. I mean, if you want to vote, you need to get the ID, but you're going out, you're going to get it free, and this registers you. And imagine that. You could vote in person or get a legitimate absentee ballot sent to you.
This will be very important. And so this will be, I think, a move forward in getting more people to vote. It will not restrict people from voting. It will be uniformly applied throughout the country, and it will be non-discriminatory.
Mr. Secretary, Mr. President, I'm wondering if you can give me some sense of how broken you think the system is as it exists today.
It's still the best system in the world, I think, but that just may be my personal view. Let me add to what President Carter just said about the photo ID, though. One other reason I think that the Commission came out 86% in favor of this photo ID requirement is that anyone who receives this photo ID will automatically be registered to vote. And we don't foresee the possibility that voting clerks, voting registrars will be able to turn someone down who has a photo ID and present it. And as President Carter said, not only are they free, but our report calls for the states to make aggressive efforts to go out and seek these people out and provide the photo ID for them.
You might mention the provisional ballots.
The President mentions provisional ballots. If someone does not have their voter ID, this provision, by the way, kicks in on January 1, 2010, assuming that it's passed. And if you don't have your voter ID, you can vote with a provisional ballot, and your ballot will be counted if there's a signature match, and up until 2010. And after that, you have 48 hours. If you show up at the poll without your photo ID, you have 48 hours to get back to the poll and present your voter ID and have your vote counted.
All of that is totally legitimate to me. We had none of that. Signature matches. I mean, look, that was bare minimum what they were talking about 15 years ago. Guys, that's why we do it here and we do it live and we do it big, because look, how many people are actually, when they refer to that, how many people know what this even was, this commission? Most people don't know about the federal election reform or 2005. They just, hey, Bill Barr said, it's a talking point. On this channel, we actually we show you the videos. Okay, when they talk about Al Gore not conceding and what he had to say, we show you the videos. All right, that's how we do it, and we do it big, and we can only do it with your help. So please consider $5, $10, $15 big donors. You do mean the world to me. The link is down below. Thumbs this video up. Still don't have 300 thumbs. We still don't have 600 viewers, but that's okay. We do it big, guys. Check out the documentary films for free. Please, 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 especially Invisible Empire and New World Order Defined and Shade the Motion Picture, because that stuff's coming into fruition right now. Believe the hype. And another great way to support me is get a premium membership over at Rockfin. Go make the free one right now, because if I am kicked off this platform, that's where you're going to find me. But Monday through Friday, exclusive and free at 11 a.m. Eastern. You come, you check it out with the free account. You can also support me, get a premium account, and it's a Netflix for creators. So everybody on this thing, Action for Assange, Jimmy Dore, Ben Askren, Kim Iverson, Nico House, all these people. There's a lot. Richard Medford's on here. There's a lot of great people. Sam Tripoli. You also get all their premium stuff as well. So those of you that are supporting me on Rockfin, I thank you there as well. I absolutely love you guys. Thanks for sticking it out with me, and I'll see you on the flip side.